Live.
Cool. All right, make me host. Sweet.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking the time to learn more about Prodigy as a supplemental math resource and how you can support your child's learning. First, we'll introduce ourselves and provide a little bit more information about who we are and what we do. And then we'll share some exciting news about Prodigy's new brand, which just launched this week. Next, we'll chat about how you can help to support your child's learning through Prodigy and what that looks like headed back to school this year. Finally, we'll walk you through the ins and outs of our math content, where our questions come from, how we develop our content, and ultimately, how it helps your child succeed in math. At the end, we'll have a question period, but with that being said, we highly encourage questions throughout the presentation. Please use the Q&A box to ask any questions you may have as they come up, and we'll be pausing to address them throughout.
Awesome. Introductions. All right, my name is Joe. I'm the creative director here at Prodigy, and I guess to sum up, my job is to make sure that anything that anybody ever sees about Prodigy represents who we are and what we truly believe.
Hi again, I'm Rachel, and I'm a customer success manager here at Prodigy. I work directly with educators, parents, and students across North America to help them on their Prodigy journey.
Hi there, I'm Krystin, and I'm an education content lead working in our content creation team. Before joining Prodigy, I was a classroom teacher and have international teaching experience in Australia.
Hi, I'm Liana. I'm also a content lead at Prodigy, and similar to Krystin, I also have international teaching experience with students at the elementary level. I taught at an international private school in Hong Kong, where I used Prodigy frequently in my classroom. Now I'll pass it back to Joe.
Thank you. All right, so to kick things off, we're gonna just, I'm here to say a few little things about our new brand. So if in the past week you've been to any of our platforms or in the product or Instagram page or anything like that, you might have noticed everything went a little orange. Well, the reason for that is what I'll explain now, and it really all comes down to our mission. So our mission from day one has always been to help every student in the world love learning. That's our core, always has been, always will be. And so a lot of times when brands go through rebrands, it's in an effort to like forget the past or to start fresh with something brand new. But for us, it really was a recentering on who we truly are, finding the best, most effective, most engaging way to actually say that to everybody and then shout it from the rooftops. And so that's exactly what we're trying to do with this entire new brand. With the mission of wanting to help every student in the world love learning, that comes with needing to transform education a little bit. You know, if we want them to all love learning, then that's going to require, you know, us really putting a foot forward in what we believe. And we believe that education should be personalized and effective and engaging. We believe it should be sustainable and accessible. And so with that, you know, COVID struck. COVID struck earlier this year, and we were in the middle of our rebrand. And what this really showed us was the fact that the world of education wasn't ready for something like this. Even though we have the tools at our fingertips to engage with students, They don't have to be in the homeroom. They could be in a room in their home, and yet we can still have them engaged in math. We can still have them connected to their teacher. We can still have them learning and loving it. And so we were at home. This is an artist rendition of me doing the rebrand stuff from my home. I don't actually have a big orange chair, but the point being that this was a huge signal to us that we really needed to just get on this and get our voice heard. People believe in a brand that believes in something. And our brand absolutely believes in getting every student in the world to love learning, no matter what. And so this was just such a moment for us to go, we need our voice to be heard. We need to get even more students to fall in love with learning. And so all of that really starts with, what's the first thing you see when it comes to a company? It's their logo. And so for us, if you know our logo and our past logo, this is wildly different, but there's a good reason for it. And it all comes down to our symbol, which we're calling the path. And the reason why we call this the path is because we wanted something that stood for us, something that actually represented our beliefs and couldn't just be, seen by any company and used by any company that, their name starts with a P. So the reason we call this the path is because it tells two stories. The first story is it's a single line. And the importance behind that is every learning journey is one single learning journey throughout your entire life, but it goes all over the place, just as this line does. But every learning journey also starts with small beginnings as you start to learn something and you kind of get through that anxious time of it being new, and hopefully leads to big accomplishments where you've actually learned something, you've done something with that learning, and you've contributed to society or yourself or your family or your loved ones in some way based on your learning. And so we really think that this logo represents us, and it couldn't represent anyone else, and we're really, really proud of it. The next part that people probably draw their attention to is color. And so I mentioned orange right off the bat. It comes with a whole host of other colors, but the reason for that is we wanted our bright and optimistic outlook on the future of education to come through in our colors. And so that orange is something that's attention grabbing, and it shows our optimism, and then it's paired up with all of these other colors that just hopefully make what's bright, brighter. The next thing are our fonts. And so we actually created a font. It's called Prodigy Sans. It's actually available for free. That's the Prodigy way, make it free. But what we wanted to do with this was we took that font, which is a little bit more structured, and we paired it with another one that's got a little bit of energy. And so it makes the functional fun. It allows us to say something, but then also emphasize that with a pop of color, a hit of energy. So it's not just what we say, it's how we say it. The next thing that we tackled was, how do we represent the world? We've got this optimism. And so we built out all of these characters in 3D. We wanted our brand to just pop. We wanted to stand out, be different, be something that people could actually recognize and just get a smile from. And so this is just the beginning of a diverse host of characters that we're going to create that represent the world of education, our students, our teachers, our admins, our parents, you name it. We're going to represent them all and showcase how Prodigy is helping them all fall in love with learning. And so with that pop, that also comes with well, if we're not showing characters, everything else needs to pop as well. And so, our what we're calling spot illustrations do the same thing. That rocket represents that blast of confidence you get when you really get on a whirl with learning. The mountain is setting goals, lofty goals, but then reaching them. And so, everything that we do comes with a pop of color and then also just a pop of 3D. And so the one thing that I'm probably leaving out of this conversation is our fun little monster, Ed. And so Ed has clearly gotten a makeover. Ed used to be this tiny, flat, teal little thing, and he's grown up a little bit. He's a little bit more polished. They're also a little more orange, but Ed still got that same snaggletooth he's always had. Ed still got those teal eyes that they've always had. And really, we want to use Ed just more intentionally as we move forward. So we call this Proudy McProud Ed. He's just super proud of what he's doing right here. But what the intention with Ed is that he represents, imagine like, you know, when a child has a security blanket, it's this object that just takes away anxiety when they're going through something new. If a child is like sleeping in their bedroom for the first time ever, that security blanket is that thing of comfort, and it gives them the confidence to be able to do it. And that's what Ed has been since day one. Ed is the correct monster that just shows up every time that a student gets an answer right and says, you got it, on to the next. And so that is what Ed represents. And so we want Ed to sort of embody what Prodigy is, which is giving you that confidence, taking away that anxiety when you need to learn something, and just really boosting how you learn and allowing you to fall in love with it. And so that's Ed. And we've got a little Ed love there. So I think what I'm going to do now is just go to our poll. We've got a few polls here. And so I hope everybody can see this, but you know, if you've been watching, the question here is, what does our new symbol called the path stand for? I'll give a few minutes, few seconds for some answers to roll in. But I hope you can see that kind of through everything that I'm saying, really, we took the foundation that Prodigy always has been, that core mission that we have, and we just wanted to express it with the optimism and the passion that everyone who works at Prodigy has. And so, all right, I will bring the poll to an end, but you know what? There was no wrong answer on that one. I feel like that's a trick question. That was mean, but it really does stand for small beginnings, a learning journey, big accomplishments, all of the above. And so the last thing I'll leave everybody with is just, we made a fun little video that just represents everything that we've done to date, and really just hopefully kickstarts this fresh new chapter in who we are.
We learn every day. Some days we learn a little, other days we learn a lot. When you love to learn, it's easier, more engaging, and fun. At Prodigy, our mission is to help every student in the world love learning. And for the last 9 years, our game has helped 90 million of them love learning math. But why stop there? There's a new school year ahead, which means a new you and a new us. So we're proud to show you the next chapter of our journey. This is the path, and it represents a student's learning journey from small beginnings to big accomplishments. Along the way, they'll see what's bright get brighter with our new color palette. And they'll see how we made the functional fun by pairing our new fonts together. And Ed? Well, they've gone on a journey too. Grown up, more confident, and ready to support you on your learning adventure. So we're brighter, louder, and a bit more orange. What's next? Well, we're going to push boundaries. We're going to make every student in the world love learning. And we want you to come with us. So to every student, teacher, and parent, whether you're learning from home, school, or a little bit of both, join us for the new school year, a new us, and new possibilities.
All right. And that is all from me. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to hand hosting duties to Rachel, and she will take it from here. All right, Rachel, you should be host. Oh, you're muted.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. I appreciate it. I hope you can hear me now. Thank you. There we go. Awesome. So like I mentioned before, I work closely with educators, parents, and students across North America, helping to support them with intentional usage of Prodigy as a math resource. In the best of times, back to school can be a stressful time of year, and in today's landscape, it's likely even more so. We at Prodigy are here to help. We recognize that families are facing a growing number of challenges when it comes to their child's learning in math. Today, I want to address some of those challenges you may be facing while understanding our children and balancing their needs and their wants. How much screen time would you say your child has per day? So I'm going to put out a poll right now just to see what we're thinking in terms of screen time. So just give you a second there to answer. And when you think about how much time your child's spending looking at a screen, whether that's playing video games, watching TV, how much time is that? So let's take a look here at some of those results. And it looks like, no surprise there, most of you said more than 2 hours a day with screen time. So one challenge we face is, as you can see, and as we hear all the time, children are spending too much of their time online or playing video games. This may even be a challenge for some of us here tonight. Looks like it might be. We aren't sure what's too much, and even then, what is a good use of screen time and what isn't? Well, lucky for us, there's been a ton of research done on this topic. Digital game-based learning, or DGBL, captures children's imagination and intrinsically motivates them to engage with educational content. Math-based DGBL tools have been shown to increase student achievement and performance in various research studies. Research has also shown that digital game-based learning develops 21st century skills in students, including increased motivation, more effective communication, the development of critical thinking skills, and persistence in the face of adversity. Prodigy's digital game-based learning platform not only engages your child and keeps them working on math problems, it aligns with what they're learning in the classroom and sends data about how they're doing back to your child's teacher. This allows the teacher to get a clear idea of strengths and areas of need for your child as they play. Challenges around screen time aren't the only thing that we're hearing a lot about in regards to education today. We also hear a lot about math anxiety and students not wanting to take risks in math or make mistakes. Maybe you've heard things or have even said them yourself, like, I'm not a math person or I'm not good at math. I know I have. This can be a huge concern for parents and teachers alike. Through the research of Carol Dweck, we know that everyone can excel if they have a growth mindset. At Prodigy, we believe that every student can and should love math. Playing fun online games with their classmates is a part of the way that we can help foster that love of learning. As students are playing Prodigy, not only are they playing fun online games with friends, but they're engaging with math at their level. Prodigy uses an adaptive algorithm to send your child questions that are challenging, but also achievable. This, coupled with gameplay, encourages them to continue playing and builds their confidence in their ability to solve math problems. Consider how this cycle looks if students begin feeling like they're not good at math and how their moods and behaviors negatively align with that. They feel like they're not good at math, so they feel anxious, defeated, and then they give up and they disengage or misbehave as an avoidance mechanism. If we can reverse that trend and change their behavior because of the love of a game, we can ultimately impact their moods and thoughts and reverse the cycle. If we can help students to feel like they're good at math and develop a love of it, then we can help them feel motivated, happy, confident, which leads to more focused gameplay and thus more math development. Finally, there's one more key challenge that's top of mind for most parents. It's knowing that children are safe when they're online. Now, I know that you've heard about this, and I know that as parents and educators, we're all worried about online safety. And it isn't just from strangers online, although that's a big part of it. The new challenge is online bullying. This can come from other students that your child may know or may not even know, and it's concerning. According to DoSomething.org, about 37% of young people between the ages of 12 and 17 have been bullied online. 30% of them have had it happen more than once. Prodigy makes online safety a top priority. We want students to feel safe playing online free of bullying. This helps them to continue to play, learn, and take risks in answering math questions, and we do this in a couple of ways. First, we allow students to interact with their peers throughout our digital platform. However, we limit the chat to pre-populated sentences that students can choose from in order to keep conversations positive and motivating. Second, students are not identified by their own name as they play. Students choose a name for their character from a list of names that have been provided. This keeps players anonymous as they play. In addition, Prodigy keeps student data safe. Did you know that your child's last name will not appear in our system? They're only identified by their common first name and a last initial. All of this is to say, we make your child's online safety a top priority. Now that we've chatted about some of the challenges that Prodigy attempts to alleviate, I'd like to share more with you about how you can get involved in your child's learning and support their use of the resource at home. You can create your own free Prodigy parent account, which I'll walk through shortly. But what can a parent account do for you? First, you can link your child's account to be kept in the loop on how they're doing through your real-time parent dashboard. This ensures that you're seeing that your child is engaged in that productive screen time that we just spoke about. Why is this important? You can see how your child is doing on math specific to your state or province. You'll also be able to see when your child earns badges, which will help you to know how they're doing in terms of their curriculum expectations. You'll also have the option to sign up for email updates, so as your children complete teacher-assigned content, you'll be notified. It's a great way to keep them accountable for completing homework or practicing for an upcoming quiz. It's also a great way for you to know what they're working on day to day and ask really specific questions so that when you say, "What did you learn at school today?" they're no longer going to give you the response, "Nothing." Next, you have the ability to set goals for your child. You can set goals based on the number of questions answered within Prodigy. Once they're completed, your child will actually unlock special in-game rewards. Not only does this promote a growth mindset, which we know is really important, but as they play, they continue to send important data back to their teacher. The more they play, the more data their teacher gets to inform them next steps in their learning. Finally, as we talked about before, when your child is playing Prodigy, you know that they're in a safe and secure learning environment online. With no open chat features, no full names or locations collected, you know that your child will be able to navigate through their favorite game safely. So it's a really fun way just to be involved in your child's Prodigy experience and to be able to reward them along the way. Once you're on your parent dashboard, you're able to see how many questions your child is answering and their goals for that week, as well as have full visibility as to how they're progressing throughout their curriculum. This is your child's report card. It shows you an overview of their grade level, progress in the curriculum, and any skills that they have mastered. When you click on the curriculum coverage tab, you'll also see all of the badges they've collected so far. These indicate skills that they have mastered and are now working towards their next badge. Once they've mastered all the skills for that grade level, they'll receive the corresponding badge that shows that they've made it through their grade level. So now that you know what a parent account is all about, how do you get started? If you don't already have a free parent account, you can sign up for one by going to www.prodigygame.com and clicking the orange button that says Get Started with a Free Account, or by scanning the QR code on this screen with your mobile device. We also encourage you to join our Prodigy parent community on Facebook, where you can connect with thousands of other parents and share tips and tricks for using Prodigy at home and learn about new product updates and releases. In addition to your parent account being free to use, our game is always free for students to play. With that said, you may hear your child ask about a membership. Prodigy memberships are primarily for students who want to take their Prodigy experience to the next level. Once again, a thing to note is that the math content and questions being asked are never affected by the membership. The membership primarily involves more character upgrades, such as special clothing, wands, pets, and leveling up at a faster rate. Here's a chart showing some of the in-game benefits of becoming a member. Prodigy memberships are completely optional, but it's a great way to reward your child for being excited about using an educational resource and wanting to practice math at home. For membership pricing, check out our website, and we do offer discounted memberships for families with multiple children. Next up is our education content creators, Krystin and Liana. They're going to walk you through the content resources and adaptive programs. So I will pass it over to those ladies now.
Perfect. Thank you, Rachel. So to start off, who are we? We are a group of teachers. So to put some context around the team that creates and aligns the education content at Prodigy, our whole team is a group of educators, all with experience in classroom teaching. Some of the content that we create includes the in-game math questions that students answer, and more recently, due to school closures, the offline weekly resources on our Prodigy Math blog to support parents and teachers. As you can see here, this is some of the content that is included in those weekly calendars. A
question that we're often asked is, where do our math questions come from? The questions we create are tailored to the curricula that we align to. What this means is that a grade 3 student in New York would see questions that are aligned to their learning standards for mathematics, while, for example, a grade 3 student in Texas would encounter questions that are aligned to TEKS. So depending on your location, you can choose which curriculum suits your students' or child's needs.
In fact, the first thing that we do when creating a series of questions is look at the specific curriculum.
Accessibility is also really important to us. It allows us to be confident that students are able to answer independently and at their own pace all of the questions that they encounter. That green audio icon that you can see is a text-to-speech feature we have that reads aloud all of the written content within a question. Since text-to-speech lets students both see and hear what's being read, it creates a multisensory experience for our learners. In addition to text-to-speech, when we create content, we also consider accessible language. What that means is that the language we use is particular to what students are familiar with at different age levels. A really good example of this for math is the word equation. This is actually a term that students become more familiar with around the age of 9. So when we're creating content for students who are younger than that age group, we just wouldn't use that word at all.
In addition to this, similar to a classroom, we try to determine the best resources to help students understand math concepts. A great example are manipulatives. To help students answer questions, here are some of the manipulatives that they can encounter. They might answer questions using a number line, hundreds chart, fraction bars, base 10 blocks, and many others. Basically, we provide many of the things that they would already be familiar with from the classroom. On top of this, students will also always have access to these tools and more for support. As you can see here in the top right corner, students can choose a variety of manipulatives or even visual aids to help them answer questions. And for the older grades, there may even be a calculator available to them for some of the questions.
As teachers, one of the biggest missions that we have is to make sure that our students are set to succeed. This means that we work really hard to provide enough support within each question so that students are able to develop an understanding of the math concept that they're working on. We do this using something called a hint bubble. When a student finds a question challenging, or even if they would just like reassurance that they're on the right track, they can open the hint bubble, which offers some additional information that will help them solve a problem. These hints can include information like definitions, formulas, examples, or manipulatives and other visual aids. But as teachers and parents, we also know that some kids like to rush through things and try to answer questions without reading instructions or really understanding what it is that they're supposed to do. So as a safeguard, if a student answers a question incorrectly, the hint bubble also opens up as an additional measure of support.
On top of all of this, our team is currently working on creating and aligning instructional video lessons that will appear in-game. This means that in addition to those hint bubbles, students can independently build their knowledge about an existing or even new math concept. This is also great news for parents who may not be familiar with certain math concepts or want the peace of mind that their children are learning without the need for additional support. So once the videos are available, this is what the icon will look like. For this skill over here, here's a preview of a video lesson that will appear.
Hey Wizard, let's talk about multiplication and division. At their core, multiplication and division are all about groups. When we multiply, we're making equal groups of a number to get a total. And when we divide, we're taking a total and sorting it into some number of equal groups. The better we understand how multiplication and division can work, the more flexibly we can think about them. We've got these pencils in groups of backpacks here that I've used to represent 12 divided into groups of 3, giving us 4 groups. and groups of 3 pencils times 4 backpacks, giving us 12 pencils.
So that is just a sample of one of the video lessons that our content creators put together. The videos are not available to all students yet. However, they will be rolled out across different curricula in the coming months. With all of these resources and supports, they are there and in place to prevent learners from being both frustrated or discouraged in the event that they may encounter a question that is really challenging for them.
We also know that there are parents who are curious about the difficulty of questions that their children might encounter. For example, that questions might seem too easy or even that they might seem too hard. With Prodigy's mission being to help every student in the world of learning, our program is actually designed to be adaptive, to match and support a student's scholastic ability. What this means is that no matter where in the learning journey a student is, they'll encounter questions in a way that continues to develop their understanding, whether they need reinforcements or even if they need extension to be challenged. The 2 images on the right that you can see are high-level examples of what 2 different students' learning journeys could look like in order for them to master the same skill. I won't dig in specifically on these images just yet, but to put this into context, let's have a look at the way our basic algorithm could look like in action for a student who is playing Prodigy.
So in this example, if a grade 3 student is learning how to calculate the perimeter of a rectangle, this is the first set of questions that they may encounter. If the student answers 3 questions incorrectly, and this does not have to be consecutively, the questions will change to look like this. Here, students are given options in the form of multiple choice, and in the hint bubble, it provides them a reminder of how the perimeter is calculated. After the concept is reinforced and the student has mastered the skill, meaning that a student has answered enough questions to demonstrate their understanding of that concept, they will return to the original set of questions again. So once they have mastered this skill, the next set of questions might look like this. Here, they are able to apply their previous understanding to progressively challenging questions. To get to this question, we know that students would have had practice calculating perimeter and will now be asked to apply that knowledge to determine the missing sides. As students keep answering questions correctly, they'll continue to encounter math questions that might seem to be more challenging for them. Over here is an overview of the progression of the 3 questions that we just talked about. You can see that as they progress, students are required to think more deeply and apply their knowledge about a concept.
So after seeing those more concrete examples in practice, let's come back to the 2 algorithm images shown before. In the top image, you can see that student 1 has answered 7 questions correct consecutively to master that skill. However, on the image below, student 2 has answered some questions incorrectly and therefore would be guided to answer some more questions in order to further practice that skill. At the end of the day, both students have demonstrated that they were able to master the same skill. The only difference was that their learning journeys were individualized to meet each of their needs. Okay, so this is the last poll of the evening. For this one, there are no right or wrong answers. What we're looking for is your honest opinion about which of these instructional tools that Liana and I have spoken about that would help to support your child's learning. So we've got hint bubbles, video lessons, manipulatives, text-to-speech, and our adaptive program, which is just the basic algorithm that we've spoken about.
Give everyone a little bit more time. And I'm going to stop you right there. Wow, it looks like the majority of you believe that video lessons would be the most beneficial means to supporting your learners. Thank you so much for your input. Your feedback is extremely valuable to us, and it really does help us build out content to support your learners' needs. So to close things off, for busy families, the benefit of our adaptive program, the tools and manipulatives that learners can use, our hint bubbles and video lessons, means that you can be confident that your child is continuing to develop their mathematical understanding while independently playing Prodigy.
We know that there are a lot of challenges that families and teachers are facing right now, and our team is working really hard to continue to develop an instructional program and resources that offer students a learning experience that's both autonomous, adapts to their abilities, increases their confidence in math, and ultimately helps them love learning. And with that, we just wanted to say thank you so much for letting us share with you what we do every day as educators at Prodigy in order to help support learning in and outside of the classroom. So thank you.
All right, so if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the Q&A boxes and let us know if there is anything that you're curious about that we've talked about today or that we haven't covered and you're wondering about. And we'll just give a couple of minutes for everybody to throw any questions in there that they may have. Great, okay, so it looks like there are not a lot of questions coming through right now. However, you will see a link in the description of this afterwards. If you do have any questions, you can submit them there as well. It looks like perhaps there is one coming through, so we'll just give it a minute. Nope. All right, then we are all set. So I just want to say thank you again, guys, for attending. We really do appreciate it. We appreciate your time and everything that all the time you spent with us today. That concludes our presentation for this evening. So thanks for taking the time to learn a little bit more about Prodigy. We've created a feedback survey that you can complete, and we'd really love to hear your feedback. We've provided the link in our YouTube description and on the Facebook event page. So thank you again. And check out some of our resources, like I said, that's on our website, www.prodigygame.com. And feel free to join our Facebook parent community as well. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.